Hathaway Home Services, PenFed Realty, and this is our little real estate segment we do on Mondays, and my guest today is Chad Swinger of Heartland Pest Control, and today we're going to talk about WDO.
WDI.
Oh, they did.
I
thought it was organisms.
Insects. Yeah, it could be that too.
Okay. So wood-destroying organisms or insects. Mm-hmm. And most people think of those as termites, but they could also be ants.
You can have carpenter ants, carpenter bees, and all types of wood borers. But termites are the ones that do the most damage. Mm-hmm. They're also the only ones that actually digest the wood. The other ones just bore the wood out.
Yeah, so they're just using it like sawdust. The other ones actually ingest it and use it for food.
Yes, correct.
So the reason that this comes into real estate is that if you have a house that you are either buying or refinancing, your lender sometimes will ask you to go get a termite inspection as part of your transaction. And so if the house comes back clean, doesn't have any termites, then you guys have a form that you fill out and say no recommendation. But if there is recommendation, what happens next?
Well, what we look at is we look at if the house has ever had any evidence of termites. We look if it's got live termites and also if it has damage from termites.
So let's look at the pictures right now. We'll show you some damage from termites. That's sideways, but that's okay. We were looking at a board. This is actually a house that I showed on Saturday. This is an interior board of the house. They have removed the sheetrock and they found that damage. So everywhere there's a hole is where a termite's eaten.
Correct.
Because that should be a solid board.
Solid board. So you got some damage in the wood. You also have some staining and some looks like some partial shelter tubes in there. One thing about termites too is they will always eat with the grain of the wood. So
right. So if we look at the next picture, Ron, Mr. Picture, please. Oh, it's supposed to be going by itself. Okay. So when we see the next picture, one of them was taken at a property which I have recently purchased, and it was outside. There it is, and they were eating with the grain. Okay, this is one you haven't really seen before, but one of your counterparts at work have. Okay. They ate exactly with the grain of the wood, and that's a railroad tie. And what I wanted to remind people on the railroad tie is when you have ground to wood contact, that's not good.
Soil to wood contact is not good, including any kind of stuff around gardens, any kind of landscaping you're doing. Also, your siding that goes down, you want to make sure there's a little gap between the siding and the patio or the soil or what have you, so we can inspect it correctly, and also you don't make a conducive condition for termites when the siding goes down to the soil.
And that's what we're talking about there, is that railroad tie is holding back some wood chips, and you can see the earth on one side and the wood chips on the other, and somebody thinks, oh, I made some nice landscaping, but they just basically made a termite area.
Right. So some stones or brick or even plastic edging, something like that would go a lot better and last a lot longer.
So this person would need to remove their...
That would be a good idea.
Right, because otherwise they're just going to have termites. So how do you treat for termites?
Well, what we do is we do a liquid termiticide into the ground. It's a chemical by the name of Termidor, probably the best thing on the market. A lot of guys use the chemical. Mm-hmm. Very effective. It's got a transfer effect to where we put the chemical in the ground and we let the termites, because they're a social insect, we let them go ahead and do the work for us. So we put the chemical out, termites take it back to the colony. Like I said, it's a transfer effect, like me or you having a cold or flu and transfer it by coughing or sneezing or not washing our hands. They'll transfer that and do the job for us. And label reads it'll take about 90 days to get rid of termites. With Termidor, I feel like it works much faster than that.
Okay, but of course they have to give it the longer period of time.
Right.
So the same treatments used for carpenter ants or the...
Carpenter ants and carpenter bees are treated totally differently. Carpenter ants, Termidor is used with carpenter ants as well, but it's more of a surface application than a ground injection like we use for the termites. Carpenter bees is more above ground. They get into the wood above patios on houses. So a lot of times we'll use a little bit of a dust or a liquid in the holes that they've made. So
And that was what was interesting about the one with the little green awning above, is they had crawled all the way up the beam and then across the beam.
Right, and so on something like that, termites usually will always have to have contact with the soil unless they have a moisture source in a wall. So on something like that, you want to treat the soil at the base, so as the termites go back and forth, they're getting through the chemical to
Right.
get rid of the issue.
And in this particular instance, this person had decided to carpet the soil. And so what they did was they created the base for them to have a water source and to hide under. And so they basically, as your counterpart put it, made a termite farm.
Yeah, and another thing too on termites is around the exterior of your house, you always want to have good drainage away from the house to keep the moisture away from the house, because when you do that, that helps with all kinds of issues, not even just termites, but
Water intrusion.
Yep. So,
And that's what we see a lot of, and people just forget that. But it's something you need to do every 3 to 5 years, is add dirt to the outside of your house, whether you're just going to the hardware store and getting it in bags, or having a company come out and actually shovel dirt all around the outside of your house and do a slope down to the yard. And it doesn't have to be a big slope, we're just talking about a gradual.
the other thing on adding soil to the ground, though, is if your house has ever been treated, you want to have a retreatment done on that soil that's been brought in, because you're bringing untreated soil and putting it over treated soil. So
Right.
you want to do that. The other thing is, if you just home ownership, you want to have your house inspected every year to 2 years, because termites actually do more damage to homes than what tornadoes, hurricanes, and all natural disasters included. It's like triple the amount that
And
they
you don't
do.
know you have it sometimes until you take the sheetrock
Have
off the
a
wall.
have a professional come out, and like I said, buying a house or remodeling a house are the two times we got called out every time for termites.
and refinancing.
Yep, and they find out that they've got a problem and it's too late.
Right. So, for instance, I'm making a new pad for a new concrete area in my backyard. So as soon as I dig up all of that soil and push it all around, I'm not bringing soil in, but once I get that built, I probably need to have that area treated.
Retreated, yep.
Yep.
Yep, definitely, because whenever you mess with the soil barrier around the outside of the house, you're moving chemical that was there before that's in that soil, so you want to just have a retreat.
Even
done.
though the garage is 25 feet away from the actual house, I'll still need to treat
It'd be a
that.
good idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, especially since I've had termites. I've had termites in my fence, my wood fence, because of the termites next door. And I was told they were ants falling from the trees that were eating it, and we realized once we went to the neighbor's house that, oh, it's her house that's causing the damage in mine. So those are all things that you need to look at. You can call Chad at Heartland Pest, and they can answer some more questions for you. I'll be back next week with Michael Tan, who's the new director of the Transit Authority for Wichita. Meantime, have fun at